Well, yep, that's what it looks like. So this is an Oliver tractor from 1969, powered by a 6-cylinder diesel. This happens to be equipped with a front loader and a rear excavator. This machine was one of the industrial construction models available at the time, and I just happened to pick it up. So yes, now I own a backhoe. Pretty freaking cool. I'm super excited to dive into this project. My long-term goal is to bring this machine, bring it a little bit of updates and maintenance. There's some rot related to the fender positions on both sides. Even the upper floor in the back has some holes in it. I don't think it's anything out of my ability to fix. Additionally, probably the worst culprit, there's a missing pivot bearing back here for the rear arm, and many of the bushings are just worn out. Let's see if there's any slack in it right now. So all that slop, hopefully I'll be able to clean that up, make a nice tight machine. It's not going to cause me any grief. It needs some paint, but it runs awesome. One of the things I wanted to dive into today was the drive system. It's got a pedal designated for forward and reverse direction, and what it does is it transfers the power from the pedal into a link that ultimately shifts the transmission from forward to neutral to reverse. So it gets a little bit tricky to drive without those pedals functioning like they should. So as of right now, it's a piece of rod passing through and just tied onto the linkage that would allow you to shift. There's reverse, there's neutral, and there's drive. So it can get a little bit tricky to stop because of that as well. So I'd rather have the pedals operate like they should. I think that's what I'm going to pick away at this morning. See if I can't improve upon that at all. But this is definitely going to be fun. I can tell you I'm excited. Old rotor. You take off the tube. So in order to remove this rod, there's a retainer on the opposite side that I have to get over to, but I'm going to remove it because it's really bent. It's got a wicked bend in it, and I'm going to try to take that out, get it as straight as I can, and then that'll give me a chance to drill out where these pins used to be. And I'm going to end up using probably nuts and bolts to build up a pivot to link these back to the original pedals, so then everything can work as it should. But I'll start by removing the retainer on the other side and see where we can go. So I've been trying to just remove this one link that drives the shifter on the other end. That's what I've been trying to work out since I started here. I finally got the roll pin free. So now I should be able to pull this off with my puller and hopefully drill some clearance holes and then start my process of putting some nuts and bolts on this to make it function like I'm hoping for. And I can also work on straightening out that rod a little bit more now too. So after taking that part off, you saw me punch out the existing studs that were there, and I've just put some bolts in there now. So those bolts will be my new attachment point for the pedals' sake. So now I have to work on fabbing up a way to tie the pedals back to this unit. So essentially when I press the rear pedal, what I need to have it do is engage the rear drive on this unit. Same with the forward pedal, and of course neutral also. So I'm gonna have to do a bit of work with the steel rod that I've got here, bend up some hoops, do a bit of welding, and so on and so on. But I think I should be able to make this work without too much trouble. I'm gonna get to playing around and see what I can come up with here. So I've been picking away at this drive linkage. Played with it quite a bit yesterday, and then it looked like I was gonna have a bit of a weather delay, but what I've got so far is some steel rods that I've managed to bend up. So we've got the reverse pedal on this side and the forward pedal on that side. And if you see inside there, whether or not you can see it moving, I need to be able to pull a linkage backward in order to engage reverse. So this is the reverse pedal, and that pulls that linkage back at the same time pulling the forward pedal up. So this is good. And this will even allow me to work the throttle when you press hard enough, which is how it's supposed to work. Now the forward pedal, as I pull that, the linkage goes forward to engage the forward drive. And that's actually a leftover piece of Chevette parking brake cable that busted and is now doing a perfect job of what it needs to do. So I'm gonna try to secure the rest of this stuff like it's just put together, kind of floating. And I need to get some lock rings or some snap rings to go on those, or some retainer nuts or something that'll hold. I'm gonna play a little bit there and see if I can't get this buttoned up and tightened down, and then we'll take it for a test drive. I gotta reconnect the brake linkage for the rear brake here on this side. I should be in a much better position. So it's been pretty well the whole day at this point now. I've been messing around with this thing, and I had something which I thought was gonna work. I pressed the reverse pedal and it pulls the linkage back. You can see over there, I'll go on the other side in a second. When I press the forward pedal, it pulls it forward. I thought I had enough clearance for the brake arm here too. I had to put a little bend in it. Wasn't quite the truth. So it engages reverse just perfectly. And the pedal works as it should with engaging it. So this is what I had to add, because the problem here is when it would pull back to go into the reverse position, like this, on the original pivot, it would bind up and get stuck and stay in reverse. So I thought, okay, if I can move the pivot point forward, that should give me the ability to lift it out. And then pressing the forward pedal, awesome. But the issue with the forward pedal is it's not quite enough to actually get it to click into gear. If I lift the reverse pedal, it goes further. Like, that's the funny thing. I can get forward all the way to there, but if I lift, then it'll go the rest of the way. And that's, so in order to have it in forward, I have to be about that far ahead. Let's go here and look what the problem is now. So the problem now is it's binding on the brake. It's all hung up and tight. And that's because I forced the reverse pedal all the way up, and that's what I ended up with. So I need to find a different manner in making this work. I think I need to go from here to a standalone pivot that can pull up at the right angle, or I have to address this and figure out what I'm doing wrong, because I've obviously missed a step here. But I don't really have anything to follow, so it's all kind of by just the seat of my pants. But I'll get it going sooner or later. It'll just take a bit of time, that's all. So after a quick test, I've determined that none of this is working like I wanted it to. I did a bit of digging, and I had some help from some folks that happen to share an interest in these same machines. As soon as my phone will unlock. What I have and what I should have are very different things. a member was kind enough to send me some photos of the linkage set up on his tractor. So you can see how that this turnbuckle, I can't remember what they called that. It has a name. Anyway, how it's flipped and spun the other way. Anyways, I should be able to make some adjustments and make mine work, and then I am going to recreate those links out of steel rather than just trying to use this rod, as I don't think it's strong enough. My shifter link on the other side should be facing downward toward the front tires in order to work correctly. So I'm going to start taking this apart, disassembling it. I'm going to take that pivot rod right out. I got to straighten my brake lever because I did put bends in it to clear this, but now that's going to change and go back to normal. So I'm going to get to work on that right now. So by unbolting and flipping this mount for the pedals around, it's hard to notice, but this has actually got a bend to it. So the pedals were cocked on an inward angle, and one of the issues was the throttle would actually bottom out on the edge of the tractor before it could potentially be reaching what would be the governor setting. Additionally, the clearance was really tight with the brake and that arm that had to move, and I thought if I can push everything back a little bit, I may end up with a bit more space to accommodate this thing here, and then I'm not going to have to be fighting such a tight little area to make it all go. It looks like something's weird with this thing. I have to look at it based on that guy's photos and see, but I think something fishy's going on here. Anyways, that rod's so bent too. I have to try to straighten that out. I need to take it out and fix it because that's not good. So the other end of the pivot pin that shifts the transmission is also a pin related to a parking brake. So that just has to come apart. Luckily, it's not too complicated. I'm going to remove these springs for the brake so I can see a little better. Finally got the last bit of that roll pin out of there. So first was a washer, then is the bracket for the parking brake, and then it slides into the body of the tractor. I think I'm going to try pushing it through that way because of the way that it's bent. Can't really get much leverage to do much of anything else. Luckily I've got this giant punch that happened to come in the back of one of my Chevettes for free. Beautiful. I think we shall head over to the other side now. You can really see how it's bent here now, right at the end. I might be able to slide it and smash it with a hammer to try to straighten it a little bit, but taking it out of here won't be any easy feat because that link is also tied on. Yeah, it's also got its own roll pin. I don't know that I'll be able to take it out either. I'm going to do a bit of digging around and see what I can come up with here. Maybe we'll get lucky. Well, I've been messing around with this thing for quite a bit of time now, trying to figure out what the heck is going on, and I keep saying this, but I think I finally have an idea again. So this is really difficult to get in here. So what I'm thinking now is this link is actually supposed to be facing in the downward position. The problem right now is there isn't enough throw to go from forward to neutral and then to reverse. Not when it's in this position. It seems to hit the power steering lines. But something about these power steering lines seems kind of fishy to me. I think that they've been messed with, and I don't think they're seated where they should have been. I think they're supposed to be tucked tighter into this cavity. I want to try messing around with them a little bit, see what I can come up with. If I can get this thing to sit back and fall into this cavity, that lever, that'll let me shift just perfectly, and then everything will actually line up on the pedal side. Forward will be forward, reverse will be reverse. Nothing will be out of place. Where when it's at the top like this, I can make it operate full function forward, neutral, reverse, but the pedals are all going to be, well, not all of them be backwards, but the forward wouldn't work in the correct manner that it should, and that's not something that I want. I'd rather it all work properly. I'm thinking that it's these power steering lines that are causing me the grief. Maybe they can be rotated from above and they'll give me some more clearance, but I think I'm going to have to start taking the dashboard apart to get into some of those spots and see what I can make happen. But I'm finished for today. So I'm going to call it quits. Bet I'll hit it again tomorrow and make this thing go for sure.